The transport ship rattled as it approached Calvonis Station. Inside the dark cargo hold, Captain Minji sat with her hands bound in heavy metal chains. The chains were fake, of course. She could open them with a simple twist. But the aliens watching through the security cameras didn't need to know that. 4 other humans sat around her, all wearing the same fake chains. Daehyun sat to her right, his face carefully blank. He was her second in command and the best weapons expert she had ever worked with. Across from them, Yoonji kept her eyes closed, but Minji knew she was busy. The small device hidden behind her ear was mapping every inch of the station they were approaching. Jiwon sat next to Yoonji, looking nervous. That was good. She was supposed to look scared. The medical officer was playing her part perfectly. Hyunwoo, their pilot, had stayed with their real ship. He was hiding in the asteroid field nearby, waiting for the signal to come and get them. The ship shuddered as it docked. Minji heard heavy footsteps approaching. The cargo door opened with a hiss of air. 3 tall aliens walked in. They had gray skin and 4 arms each. Their faces had no nose, just slits where a nose should be. These were Vreloth, the slavers who had taken 200 humans from a colony ship 3 months ago. One of the Vreloth kicked Daehyun's boot. "Get up, human. Time to see your new home." Daehyun stood slowly, keeping his head down. The others followed. Minji made sure to stumble a little as she stood. She wanted them to think she was weak and afraid. They were led through the station's corridors. Minji took in everything she saw, guards at every corner. Cameras watching every hallway, heavy doors that could seal off sections in an emergency. Yoonji would be recording all of this through her hidden device. The station was huge. Aliens of dozens of different species walked past them. Some stared at the humans with curiosity. Others didn't even look. This was normal here. Slaves being moved from one place to another happened every day on Calvonis Station. They passed a large window looking out into space. Minji could see other ships docked at the station. Merchant vessels, pirate cruisers, military ships from species that didn't care about laws. This place was a nest of criminals, and it had operated freely for 20 years. Not for much longer, Minji thought. The guards pushed them into a large room filled with cages. Inside the cages were people, humans, men, women, and children all huddled together, looking tired and scared. These were the colonists, the people they had come to save. "New stock," one guard said to another. "Put them in cell 7. They were shoved into a cage next to one holding a group of young women. As soon as the guards locked the door and walked away, one of the women moved closer to the bars. "Who are you?" she whispered. She looked about 20 years old with short black hair and frightened eyes. "My name is Minji," she said quietly. "We're here to help." The young woman laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Help? Look around. We're all going to be sold tomorrow. There's no help coming." "What's your name?" Minji asked. "Soo-hyun." "Soo-hyun, I need you to listen carefully. Help is already here. We're not colonists. We're soldiers." Soo-hyun stared at her. "But you're in chains, in a cage." Minji smiled. It was a cold smile, the kind that made enemies nervous. "We chose to be here. We let them capture us. We wanted to be brought to this station." "Why would you do that?" "Because this is where you are, and we don't leave our people behind." In the cage with Minji, Daehyun stretched his arms. The movement looked casual, but Minji knew he was checking the small tools hidden in his clothes. They had prepared for months for this mission. Every person on her team carried equipment that the alien scanners couldn't detect. Yoonji opened her eyes and looked at Minji. She gave a tiny nod. The mapping was complete. She had the full layout of the station now, including the locations of all the guards and security systems. Jiwon moved to the bars of the cage. "Is anyone hurt?" she asked the colonists. "I'm a doctor." Several people started talking at once, telling her about injuries and sickness. Jiwon listened carefully, making mental notes. When they got everyone out, she would need to know who needed immediate medical care. An alien guard walked past, and everyone went quiet. The guard was carrying a data pad. He stopped and looked at their cage, then at the pad in his hand. "You five," he said, pointing at Minji's team. "You're in the premium auction tomorrow. The boss wants to show you off. You look healthy and strong." "Where are the others going?" Minji asked. The guard laughed. "The others get sold in the regular auction. Different buyers. You should feel special. Only the rich ones get to bid on you." After the guard left, Soo-hyun grabbed the bars. "What does that mean?" "It means they're going to split everyone up," Ji-won said softly. "Send people to different parts of the galaxy. But you said you're here to help." Minji looked at the young woman. "We are. The auction is exactly where we need to be. When all the criminals are in one room watching and bidding, that's when we act." "Act? How? You're locked up like the rest of us." Dae-hyun reached up and touched his collar. With a soft click, the chains fell away from his wrists. Soo-hyun's eyes went wide. "We're not locked up," Dae-hyun said quietly. He quickly put the chains back on before any cameras could see. "Outside this station," Minji continued, "there's an entire fleet of human military ships waiting. Marines, medical vessels, everything we need. They're just waiting for our signal." "When?" another colonist asked. An older man with gray hair. "Tomorrow, during the auction, when we can catch all these criminals at once." Yoonji spoke up, her voice barely a whisper. "I've been scanning their communications. They're planning to ship everyone to 3 different systems after tomorrow. This is our only chance to get everyone in one place." The colonists looked at each other. Slowly, hope started to replace the fear in their eyes. "What do we need to do?" Soo-hyun asked. "When the chaos starts tomorrow, stay low and follow our instructions exactly. We'll get you to the docking bay. Our pilot will be waiting." "But there are so many guards," the older man said. "How can 5 people fight all of them?" Minji's smile returned. "We're not just any 5 people. We're Earth's Special Operations Team. And we've been training for this our whole lives." As night fell over the station, the cages grew quiet. But Minji didn't sleep. She was going over the plan in her mind, checking every detail. Tomorrow, the slavers would learn something important. They would learn that humans were not weak, they were not helpless, and they were definitely not slaves. In the darkness, Minji whispered to her team. "Status check." "Explosives planted in 4 locations," Dae-hyun whispered back. "I placed them when the guards weren't looking." "Station map complete," Yoonji added. "I know every corridor and every exit." "Medical supplies ready," Ji-won said. "I can treat injuries once we're clear." "Good," Minji said. "Hyun-woo, can you hear me?" She touched the tiny communicator hidden in her tooth. A voice came back, so quiet only she could hear it through the bone conduction. "I hear you, Captain. Fleet is in position. Admiral Seojin says we're ready when you are." "Tomorrow," Minji said. "We end this tomorrow." She looked over at Soo-hyun, who was watching her from the other cage. The young woman mouthed one word. "Promise?" Minji nodded. She did promise. Every human on this station would go home, and every criminal here would face justice. The slavers thought they were going to have an auction tomorrow. They were wrong. Tomorrow, they were going to learn what happens when you take humans prisoner. Tomorrow was going to be a rescue operation, and Earth's soldiers never failed their missions. Morning came slowly to Calvonis Station. Minji woke to the sound of guards moving through the corridors. She had slept for maybe 2 hours. That was enough. She had trained herself to function on very little sleep. The other colonists were starting to wake up too. Children cried softly. Adults whispered to each other. Everyone knew that today was the auction. Today their lives would change forever. They just didn't know how different it would actually be. A guard approached with food. He pushed bowls of gray paste through the bars. It smelled terrible, but Minji ate it anyway. She would need energy for what was coming. "Big day today," the guard said, grinning at them. His teeth were pointed and yellow. "The magistrate himself is coming. Kelvan. He's very interested in your group." Minji kept her face neutral, but inside she felt a spike of satisfaction. Kelvan was the leader of the entire Vreloth crime network. He was the one they really wanted. If he was coming to the station, that made everything easier. After the guard left, Yunji leaned close to Minji. "I intercepted a message last night," she whispered. "Kelvan is bringing his personal guards, 10 of them. They're supposed to arrive in 3 hours." "Good," Minji said. "The more of them that are here, the more we can arrest at once." Daehyun stretched and yawned, but his eyes were alert. "How many guards total on the station?" 72, Yunji answered. "But 40 of them will be in the auction room for security. The rest are spread throughout the station. And how many Marines do we have waiting outside?" 200, Minji said, "plus support teams. We outnumber them almost 3-1 once the fleet arrives." Soo-hyun had been listening from the next cage. "What time?" she asked quietly. "What time does it start?" "The auction begins at noon," Ji-won said. She had been talking to the other colonists, calming them down. "That's when we make our move." The hours crawled by slowly. Guards came and went. Some of them looked at the humans like they were animals. Others just looked bored. None of them suspected that the people in these cages were anything more than helpless captives. At mid-morning, a group of guards arrived at their cage. "You 5, one of them said. "Time to get you ready for display." They were taken out of the cage and led down a different corridor. Minji memorized every turn, every door, every security camera. The guards brought them to a preparation room where other aliens were working. These aliens wore expensive clothes and carried data pads. They were the auction managers. "Clean them up," one manager said. "The magistrate wants them to look their best." The humans were separated. Minji was taken to a small room where an alien female used a device to scan her. The scan checked for weapons, for diseases, for anything that might affect her value at auction. The device didn't find the small tools hidden throughout Minji's clothes. Human technology had learned to beat these scanners years ago. The aliens had no idea how advanced Earth's military equipment had become. After the scan, they were given new clothes, simple gray uniforms that marked them as merchandise. Minji put them on without complaint. She noticed that Daehyun had managed to transfer his hidden tools to the new uniform. He was good at his job. They were brought back together in a staging area. Through a large door, Minji could hear voices. Lots of voices. The auction hall was filling up with buyers. An auction manager walked over to them. He had blue skin and 3 eyes. "You will be brought out in 1 hour," he said. "When you are on stage, stand straight. Look healthy. The better you look, the higher the bids. The higher the bids, the happier the magistrate is. And if the magistrate is happy, you don't get punished," Daehyun said, looking at the manager. The manager blinked in surprise. "You speak Galactic Common?" "Many humans do," Minji said calmly. "We're not as primitive as you think." The manager frowned. "It doesn't matter. You'll be in the mines soon enough. Speaking won't help you there." He walked away. Yunji touched her ear carefully. "The fleet is moving into position," she whispered. "Hyunwoo says they're ready." "Tell him to wait for my signal," Minji said. "We need everyone in that auction hall first." They waited. Minji could hear her heart beating steadily. She had done missions like this before. High risk, high stakes. But this one felt different. This one was personal. Those colonists in the cages were Earth citizens, families, children. The Vreloth had made a mistake when they chose to target humans. A guard came to get them. "Time to go. Follow me." They were led to the side of the auction stage. Through a gap in the curtain, Minji could see the hall. It was enormous. Hundreds of aliens sat in rows of seats. Some were dressed in expensive clothing. Others wore military uniforms from a dozen different species. All of them were here to buy slaves. On stage, a different group of prisoners was being auctioned off. They were a reptilian species Minji didn't recognize. The auctioneer was shouting numbers while buyers raised their hands to bid. The reptilians looked terrified. "Next," the auctioneer called out, "we have a special lot. 5 prime human specimens, healthy, strong, perfect for heavy labor." The guards pushed Minji and her team onto the stage. Bright lights shone down on them. Minji squinted, but kept her expression neutral. She looked out at the crowd and saw greed in hundreds of eyes. A figure stood up in the front row. He was tall, even for a Vreloth. He wore robes covered in precious metals. This had to be Magistrate Kelvan. "Begin the bidding," Kelvan said. His voice was deep and carried authority. The auctioneer started calling out prices. Numbers that meant nothing to Minji. She was too busy counting guards. 43 in the room. No, 44. One had just entered from the back. A buyer raised his hand. Then another. The price kept climbing. The aliens were competing with each other to own humans. It made Minji's blood boil, but she kept her face calm. Daehyun shifted his weight slightly. That was the signal. He was ready. Minji glanced at Yoonji, who gave a tiny nod. Everything was in place. The bidding reached a peak. A mining company was offering an enormous sum. The auctioneer looked pleased. "Going once," he called out. Minji took a deep breath. This was it. The moment they had planned for. The moment that would change everything. "Going twice," the auctioneer said. Minji looked at Daehyun and nodded once. Daehyun touched the collar of his uniform. A signal went out. Throughout the station, the tiny explosives he had planted activated. They weren't big enough to hurt anyone. They were designed to disable systems. The lights went out. The auction hall plunged into darkness. Aliens shouted in confusion. Guards yelled orders. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in red light. In those few seconds of chaos, everything changed. Minji twisted her wrists and her chains fell away. Her team did the same. From hidden pockets in their uniforms, they pulled out equipment that had been compressed and hidden. Body armor unfolded, weapons activated. By the time the emergency lights came on, the 5 helpless prisoners were gone. In their place stood 5 Earth Special Operations soldiers in full combat gear. "What is this?" Kelvan shouted. "Guards! Kill them!" Guards rushed toward the stage, but Daehyun was faster. He fired a non-lethal pulse that knocked 3 guards unconscious. Ji-won threw devices that released smoke, covering the stage. Yoonji activated a jammer that killed all the communications in the room. Minji raised her weapon and aimed directly at Kelvan. "Nobody moves," she said in perfect Vreloth. "This auction is over." The magistrate stared at her in shock. "You speak my language? But you're just a human. You're supposed to be primitive." "We let you think that," Minji said. "It made you careless." Outside the station, Hyunwoo received the signal. He activated his engines and shot toward Kalvonis Station. Behind him, 200 military ships dropped out of stealth mode. The fleet had arrived. Admiral Seojin's voice came over every speaker on the station. "This is the Earth Coalition fleet. Kalvonis Station is now under our control. All personnel will remain where they are. Any attempt to flee will be met with force." In the auction hall, buyers were panicking. Some tried to run. Guards blocked the exits, but not to keep people in. They were trying to get out themselves. Nobody had expected this. Minji kept her weapon trained on Kelvan. "Tell your guards to stand down. Tell them now, or this gets worse for everyone." The magistrate's face twisted with rage. "You dare threaten me? Do you know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are," Minji said. "You're Magistrate Kelvan. You run the Vreloth Syndicate. You've trafficked over 10,000 sentient beings in the last 5 years alone, and today, you're going to prison. Throughout the station, human Marines were breaching the outer hull. They moved in coordinated teams, securing section by section. They had trained for this operation for months. Every Marine knew their job. In the holding cells, the colonists heard explosions and shouts. Then they heard a voice speaking in English over the station's speakers. "This is Captain Minji. All human colonists remain in your current locations. Help is on the way. You are safe now." Su-Yun grabbed the bars of her cage and started crying. But they were tears of relief, not fear. On the auction stage, Minji smiled at Chelvan. It was the same cold smile she had shown Su-Hyun the night before. "Ready to show them what a rescue operation looks like?" she said to her team. Dae-hyun grinned. "Always ready, Captain." The real operation was just beginning. The auction hall was chaos. Aliens ran in every direction, shouting in dozens of languages. Guards tried to organize a defense, but they were confused and disorganized. Nobody had planned for this. Nobody had expected humans to fight back. Minji stood on the stage, her weapon steady. Around her, the team moved with precision. They had practiced this moment countless times in training. Now it was real. "Yunji, secure the exits," Minji ordered. "Nobody leaves this room." Yunji pulled a device from her gear and activated it. Energy barriers flickered to life across the doorways. They wouldn't hold forever, but they didn't need to. Just long enough. "Dae-hyun, watch the magistrate. If he moves, stop him." "With pleasure," Dae-hyun said. He kept his weapon aimed at Kelvan's head. The crime lord had stopped shouting. He was smart enough to know that moving right now would be fatal. "Ji-won, check for injuries. Some of these buyers might have been hurt in the panic." The medical officer nodded and jumped off the stage. She moved through the crowd, her scanner active. Even now, even with enemies all around her, she was checking to make sure nobody was seriously hurt. That was who Ji-won was. She saved lives no matter whose lives they were. Through the walls, Minji could hear explosions. The Marines were breaching the station's outer hull. She touched her communicator. "Hyun-woo, status report." "Docking now," the pilot's voice crackled back. "I've got the bay doors open, ready to load passengers." "Good. We'll start moving the colonists in 5 minutes." A guard near the back of the hall tried to aim his weapon at Minji. Dae-hyun saw him and fired first. The pulse of energy hit the guard's weapon, melting it instantly. The guard dropped it with a scream and ran for cover. "That's your only warning," Dae-hyun called out to the other guards. "Next shot won't be at your weapon." Most of the guards were smart enough to lower their weapons. A few tried to be heroes. Those few were quickly neutralized by Dae-hyun's precise shots. He never aimed to kill. He didn't have to. His accuracy was legendary. Magistrate Kelvan finally found his voice again. "This is an outrage. You have no authority here. This station is neutral territory." Minji walked closer to him. "Neutral? You traffic sentient beings. You break laws that every civilized species agrees on. There's nothing neutral about slavery." "Slavery is legal in some systems," a buyer shouted from the crowd. He was a wealthy-looking alien with multiple arms. "You can't impose Earth's laws on everyone." "You're right," Minji said, turning to face the crowd. "I can't, but the Coalition Council can, and they agreed to this operation. Every species represented on that council voted to shut down these markets." That caused murmurs throughout the hall. Some of the buyers looked nervous now. They had thought they were protected here. They had thought their money and influence made them untouchable. Yunji was at her station by the door, working on her data pad. "Captain, I'm accessing their records now. Every transaction, every buyer, every seller, it's all here." "Download everything," Minji ordered. "I want a complete record." "Already on it. This data will put hundreds of criminals behind bars." Outside the auction hall, the Marines were making quick progress. The station's guards were surrendering in groups. Some tried to fight, but they were outmatched. Earth's military had trained for this. They knew how to clear hostile environments. In the holding cells, the colonists waited nervously. They could hear fighting in the distance, explosions, shouts. Then the door to the cell block burst open. 3 human Marines entered, weapons ready. They wore powered armor that made them look twice their normal size. But when they spoke, their voices were gentle. "We're here to get you out," one Marine said. "Everyone stay calm. We're taking you home." Soo-hyun couldn't believe it. She had given up hope. She thought she would be sold and sent away forever. But here were soldiers from Earth, keeping their promise. "Where's Captain Minji?" she asked. "Still in the auction hall, securing the primary targets. Don't worry, she's got this." Back in the hall, Kelvan was still trying to negotiate. "Listen to me, human. I can make you rich. Richer than you can imagine. Just let me go. Take the others, but let me leave." Minji looked at him with disgust. "You think I want your money? You think that's what this is about? Everyone wants something. Name your price." "I want justice. That's my price, and you can't buy your way out of this one." A door on the far side of the hall suddenly exploded inward. Smoke filled the air. Through the smoke, more Marines entered, moving in tactical formation. They spread out quickly, securing every corner of the room. A voice called out, "Captain Minji, this is Sergeant Wu Jin. Auction hall is surrounded. We've got all the exits covered." "Good timing, Sergeant," Minji said. "Start processing these buyers. I want everyone's identity confirmed." "Yes, ma'am." The Marines began moving through the crowd, scanning faces, checking identifications. Some buyers protested. Others tried to claim diplomatic immunity. The Marines didn't care. They had their orders. One buyer, a large insect-like alien, made a run for it. He was fast, but not fast enough. A Marine fired a net that wrapped around him, bringing him down. He struggled against the restraints, clicking and hissing in his own language. "That one's a known weapons dealer," Yunji reported. "He's wanted by 4 different systems." "Tag him for extradition," Minji said. Ji-won returned to the stage. 3 minor injuries among the buyers. I've treated them. No serious casualties. Good work. Minji was proud of her team. They could have come in with maximum force, hurting everyone who got in their way. But that wasn't the human way. They used only as much force as needed. They protected life, even enemy life, whenever possible. Kelvan was watching all of this with growing horror. His criminal empire was falling apart in front of his eyes. Guards he had paid were surrendering. Buyers he had done business with for years were being arrested. His entire operation was finished. "How?" he asked quietly. "How did you know to come here? How did you know about this auction?" Minji smiled. "We've been watching you for months, tracking every ship, recording every communication. We knew exactly when and where you would strike next. But our security, our encryption, was useless against Earth technology." Yunji held up her datapad. "I broke your codes in the first hour. I've been reading your messages for weeks." The magistrate looked like he might be sick. "This is impossible. Humans are supposed to be weak, helpless. Every report said so." "That's what we wanted you to think," Minji said. "We let you underestimate us. It made you careless." More Marines entered the hall. They carried containers marked with medical symbols. "Medical supplies for the captives," one reported. "Where do you need us?" "Holding cells level 3, Minji directed. "Sergeant Wu Jin will show you the way." Throughout the station, the operation continued. Marines moved from section to section, freeing prisoners and arresting criminals. They found cages filled with beings from a dozen species. Not just humans. The Vreloth had been preying on anyone they could catch. A young Vreloth guard surrendered to Ji-won. He was barely more than a teenager. "Please don't hurt me," he begged. "They forced me to work here. I didn't want to." Ji-won scanned him. He was telling the truth. There was a slave chip implanted in his brain, controlling his actions. "It's okay," she said gently. We'll remove that chip. You're free now, too." The young Vreloth started crying. "Really? You'd help me? Even though I'm the enemy?" "You're not our enemy," Jiwan said. "The people who enslaved you are our enemy. You're a victim, just like the others." Word of this spread quickly through the station. Guards who had been forced into service started surrendering. They realized that the humans weren't here for revenge. They were here for justice. In the auction hall, Magistrate Kelvan made one last attempt to escape. He pulled a small device from his robes and pressed it. Nothing happened. "Looking for this?" Yunji held up another device. "I disabled your emergency beacon 5 minutes ago. Nobody's coming to save you." Kelvan sank to his knees. He was finished, and he knew it. Admiral Seojan's ship docked with the station. The Admiral walked through the corridors, escorted by Marines. He entered the auction hall and looked around at the captured criminals. "Good work, Captain," he said to Minji. "Very good work indeed." "Thank you, sir. The station is secure. All colonists are accounted for. 0 casualties on our side." "And the criminals?" 247 arrested so far, including Magistrate Kelvan himself. The Admiral walked over to the crime lord. "You made a mistake," he said. "You thought you could prey on humanity without consequences." "I didn't know," Kelvan said weakly. "Nobody told me humans were dangerous." "We're not dangerous," Minji corrected him. "We're determined. There's a difference. We don't look for fights. But when you threaten our people, we will come. And we will not stop until everyone is safe." The Admiral nodded in approval. "Start moving the colonists to the medical ships. I want everyone checked out and treated. Captain, you and your team get some rest. You've earned it." "With respect, sir, we're not done yet." "Oh?" Minji pointed to Unji's data pad. "We have records of 12 other stations like this one, and we know where they all are." The Admiral smiled. "Then I suppose we have more work to do." Across the auction hall, Marines were helping the freed prisoners. Medical teams treated injuries. Engineers worked on getting the station systems back online under Earth control. Soo-hyun found Minji in the crowd. "You did it," she said, her voice full of wonder. "You actually did it." "I told you we would." "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you come? Why risk your lives for us?" Minji looked at the young woman. "Because you're human. Because you're one of us. And humans don't leave their people behind. Not ever." Soo-hyun hugged her suddenly. Minji was surprised, but she hugged back. Around them, other colonists were being reunited with the Marines who had come to save them. There were tears, and laughter, and relief. The auction was over. The slavers had lost, and Earth had sent a message to the galaxy. A message that would be heard far and wide. Humanity was not prey. They were protectors. And anyone who forgot that would learn the hard way. The station was secure, but the operation wasn't over. Minji stood in the command center that the Marines had set up in the main control room. Screens showed every section of Calvonis Station. Blue markers indicated human positions. Red markers showed areas that still needed to be cleared. "Report," she said to the Marine commanders gathered around the tactical table. Sergeant Wu Jin spoke first. "All holding cells cleared. We've recovered 238 captives. 197 are human, the rest are from other species." "Medical status?" Minji asked. Jiwan looked up from her datapad. "Most are in good condition considering malnutrition. Some injuries from rough handling. 3 cases of serious illness. I've got medical teams treating everyone now. They'll all survive." That was good news. Every life saved mattered. "What about the criminals?" Admiral Seojan asked. He stood beside Minji, watching the screens. 264 in custody, another Marine reported. "We're holding them in the station's security wing. It was designed to hold prisoners, ironically enough." "Very ironic," the Admiral said dryly. "And the station's systems?" Yunji answered that one. Fully under our control. I've locked out their navigation, weapons, communications. Nobody's sending any messages without us knowing about it. Minji studied the screens. What about the other ships docked here, the ones that belong to the criminals? 23 vessels in total, Wu Jin said. We've boarded 15 of them. The crews surrendered without much fight. The other 8 are locked down tight. They're not going anywhere, but they won't open their doors either. Leave them for now. If they want to sit in their ships with no power and no supplies, let them. They'll come out eventually. Dae-hyun entered the command center. He had been leading a team through the lower levels of the station. We found something, he said. You need to see this. They followed him to a section near the station's core. Armed Marines stood guard outside a heavy door. Dae-hyun opened it and led them inside. The room was filled with cages, but these cages were different from the ones they had seen before. These were smaller, crueler, and they were filled with children. Minji felt her anger rise. There were at least 50 children here. Most were human, but some were other species. They ranged from toddlers to teenagers. All of them looked terrified. They were being kept separate, Dae-hyun said quietly. For special buyers, according to the records Yoonji found. Admiral Seojun's face went hard. Get them out of there. Now. Marines moved quickly, opening the cages. Medical personnel rushed in to check the children. Many were crying. Some were too scared to cry. Ji-won knelt beside a small human girl, maybe 5 years old. Hey there, she said softly. My name is Ji-won. I'm a doctor. You're safe now. The girl didn't respond. She just stared with huge, frightened eyes. It's okay, Ji-won continued. Nobody is going to hurt you anymore. We're taking you home. Slowly, the girl reached out and took Ji-won's hand. The medical officer picked her up carefully and carried her toward the medical bay. Minji watched as her team and the Marines worked with the children. These soldiers, trained to fight and kill when necessary, were being so gentle, so patient. This was what humans did best, she thought. They protected the innocent. Find out who was buying these children, Admiral Seojun said. His voice was cold. I want every name, every transaction, every record. Already on it, Yoonji said. She was typing rapidly on her datapad. The files are encrypted, but I'm breaking through. Give me 10 minutes. While they waited, Minji walked through the station. She wanted to see everything with her own eyes. She passed Marines escorting prisoners. She saw medical teams treating the rescued captives. She watched engineers working to repair systems that had been damaged in the initial assault. In one corridor, she found Soo-hyun helping with the other colonists. The young woman was distributing water and food packets. You don't have to do that, Minji said. You should be resting. I can't just sit around, Soo-hyun replied. I need to do something, to help somehow. Minji understood that feeling. How are the others? Scared, relieved, confused, all at the same time. It's hard to believe we're really safe. You are, I promise you that. Soo-hyun looked at her. What happens now? To us, I mean. We're taking you to one of our medical ships. They'll take care of you, make sure you're healthy, then we'll get you home, back to Earth if that's where you want to go. Or we can help you start over somewhere else. And the people who did this to us? They're going to trial. Every species in the coalition will have a chance to seek justice. Good, Soo-hyun said fiercely. They deserve worse than prison. Maybe, but we follow the law. That's what separates us from them. Back in the command center, Yoonji had finished her work. I've got it all, she said. Every buyer, every seller, every transaction going back 5 years. How many names? The Admiral asked. Thousands. This operation was bigger than we thought. Admiral Seojun studied the data. This goes all the way to the top of several governments, officials, military officers, business leaders. What do we do about that? Wu Jin asked. We expose them all, the Admiral said. No exceptions. I don't care how powerful they are. Minji's communicator buzzed. It was Hyunwoo. "Captain, I've got all the colonists loaded on the transport. Medical teams are checking them over. We're ready to move them to the fleet whenever you give the word." "Good work. Stand by." Throughout the station, the cleanup continued. Marines found secret compartments filled with stolen goods, weapons, drugs, money from a dozen different worlds. All of it was logged and confiscated. In the detention wing, the captured criminals were being processed. Each one was scanned, identified, and checked against Coalition databases. Some had warrants out for their arrest. Others were unknown, but their crimes were documented now. Magistrate Kelvan sat alone in a cell. He had been stripped of his fancy robes and now wore a simple prison uniform. Gone was his arrogance. Now he just looked old and defeated. Minji visited him. She wanted to look him in the eye one more time. "You've destroyed everything I built," he said when he saw her. "You built an empire of suffering," Minji replied. "It needed to be destroyed. I gave jobs to thousands, created wealth, provided services that people wanted. You trafficked living beings. You separated families. You sold children." Kelvan looked away. "In my culture, the strong rule. The weak serve. That's how it's always been." "Then your culture is wrong." "Says who? You? Humanity?" "Says every civilized species in the galaxy. You'll face trial from all of them. Each one will have their say. I won't live long enough to see the end of those trials." "Probably not. But justice will be served anyway." She turned to leave. But Kelvan called out, "Tell me something. Why? Why did you come for these people? What are they to you?" Minji stopped and looked back at him. "They're human. That's enough. But you don't know them. They're not your family. They're all our family. That's what you never understood. Humanity doesn't leave its people behind. Not for money, not for safety, not for anything. We come for our own. Always." She left him there in his cell and returned to the command center. The last few red markers on the screens were turning blue. The station was completely secure now. Admiral Seojun was talking to someone on the communication system. When he finished, he turned to Minji. "That was Coalition Command. They're very pleased with our success here. They want us to move on the other stations immediately." "All 12 of them?" Minji asked. "All 12. They're preparing assault teams now. We'll coordinate simultaneous raids. Hit them all at once so nobody has time to warn the others." "When?" 72 hours. "Think your team can be ready?" Minji looked at Daehyun, Yoonji, and Jiwon. They all nodded. "We'll be ready," she said. Over the next few hours, the rescued captives were transferred to the medical ships. The children were given special care. Counselors worked with them, helping them process their trauma. The young girl that Jiwon had carried out of the cage had finally started talking. She told them her name was Bora. She had been taken from a colony 6 months ago. She thought she would never see her family again. "We're going to find them," Jiwon promised her. "We have records of where everyone came from. We'll reunite you with your parents." Bora smiled for the first time since her rescue. It was a small smile, but it was real. As the last of the colonists left the station, Soohyun found Minji one more time. "Thank you," she said, "for everything. For coming after us. For not giving up." "We would do it again," Minji said. 1,000 times over." "Can I ask one more thing?" "Sure. When you go after those other stations, the other places where they're keeping people, can I come with you?" Minji was surprised. "This isn't your fight anymore. You're free. You can go home." "But others aren't free yet. Others are still in cages. I want to help them, the way you helped me." Minji studied the young woman. She saw determination in her eyes, strength that had grown from surviving something terrible. "Talk to Admiral Seojun," Minji said. "Tell him you want to join the Coalition service. If he approves and if you complete the training, then yes, you can come with us." Soohyun's face lit up. Really? Really? We can always use good people. The young woman hurried off to find the admiral. Minji watched her go and smiled. This was how it started. One person rescued, one person inspired, one person choosing to help others. This was what humans did best. They turned victims into heroes. They gave hope to the hopeless. They showed the galaxy that kindness was not weakness. The operation at Calvonis Station was complete, but the mission was far from over. There were still people to save, still criminals to stop, still justice to deliver, and humanity would not rest until every last captive was free. 1 week had passed since the raid on Calvonis Station. The station itself had been transformed. Where cages once held prisoners, there were now medical bays and counseling centers. Where auctions had taken place, there were now reunification meetings between freed captives and their families. Minji stood on the observation deck, looking out at the fleet of ships surrounding the station. Medical vessels, diplomatic ships, transport carriers bringing people home. It was a beautiful sight. "Captain?" a voice said behind her. She turned to see Bora, the little girl from the hidden cages. She looked healthier now. Her eyes were brighter. She was holding the hand of a woman who was crying tears of joy. "This is my mom," Bora said. "You found her." Minji knelt down to the girl's level. "I'm so glad. Are you happy?" Bora nodded, then suddenly hugged Minji tight. "Thank you for saving me." Minji hugged her back. "You're welcome, Bora. You're safe now. Forever." After they left, Daehyun joined her at the window. "All 12 raids were successful," he said. "Every station hit simultaneously. Over 3,000 captives freed. 562 criminals arrested. Any casualties?" "On their side, 34. On ours, 0. Minji nodded. 0 casualties. That was the goal always. Get everyone home safe. "The council wants to see us," Daehyun continued. "They're holding a special session. All the species that had citizens rescued want to thank us personally." "When?" 2 hours. Admiral Seojin says we should probably look presentable." Minji looked down at her combat uniform. It was clean, but it was still military gear. "I suppose we should change." The Coalition Council met on a massive space station near the center of known space. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered here to make laws and settle disputes. Normally, humans were just one voice among many, but today was different. Minji and her team walked into the council chamber wearing their dress uniforms. The room was enormous, with seats rising up in circles around a central speaking platform. Every seat was filled. Every species had sent representatives. Admiral Seojin was already there, standing with the Earth delegation. He nodded to Minji as she approached. "Quite a crowd," she said quietly. "They all want to hear from you," the Admiral replied. "You've become something of a legend this past week." Before Minji could respond, a voice boomed through the chamber. "The Council recognizes Captain Minji of Earth's Special Operations Command." She walked to the center platform. Hundreds of eyes watched her. Some were curious, some were grateful, some were still processing what humanity had done. "Captain Minji," the council speaker said. He was a tall being with silver skin and 6 arms. "You led the operation to liberate Calvonis Station and 12 other criminal facilities. You freed over 3,000 captives from dozens of species. The Council wishes to honor you and your team for this achievement." "Thank you," Minji said. "But I didn't do it alone. I had 4 team members who were essential to the mission. I had 200 Marines who executed perfectly. I had medical teams, engineers, pilots, everyone played a part." "Humble words," the speaker said. "But you were the one who planned the operation. You were the one who walked into that auction house in chains, knowing you might not walk out alive." "The chains were fake," Minji said with a slight smile. "We planned everything very carefully." That got a few laughs from the audience. The tension in the room eased a little. A representative from the Vreloth species stood up. She was older, with gray skin and kind eyes. I am Ambassador Lyra. I speak for the Vreloth people, not for the criminals who shamed our species. We are grateful that you showed mercy to our young people who were forced to work in those stations. Jiwan stepped forward. We helped everyone we could, she said. Criminal or victim, if they needed medical care, we provided it. Another representative stood. I am from the mining world of Kedros. 12 of our people were recovered from those stations. You returned them to us safely. How can we repay such a debt? Minji shook her head. There's no debt. We did what was right. But surely you want something, a third representative called out. Territory? Resources? Trade agreements? We want peace, Admiral Seojin said, standing up. We want to live in a galaxy where people are free, where children aren't sold, where the weak are protected, not exploited. The council chamber was silent for a moment. Then the speaker spoke again. Some of us wondered about Earth. Your species is relatively new to galactic politics. You keep to yourselves mostly. We didn't know what kind of people you were. And now, Minji asked, now we know. You are people who rescue rather than abandon, who protect rather than profit, who show mercy even to enemies. A screen lit up behind the speaker. It showed video from the raids, Marines helping frightened captives, medical teams treating injuries, engineers repairing broken systems, and in every shot, humans working side by side with other species. This is what we saw, the speaker said. Not just military strength, though you have that. Not just advanced technology, though you have that too. We saw compassion. We saw justice. We saw hope. More representatives began to stand. One by one, they spoke about the humans who had saved their people. A mother whose daughter had been returned. A father whose son was free. Leaders whose citizens were home. Then Magistrate Kelvan was brought into the chamber in restraints. He looked smaller now, less threatening. His trial had been swift. Evidence from Yunji's data collection made conviction certain. Kelvan, the speaker said, you have been found guilty of trafficking, kidnapping, and crimes against multiple species. Before sentencing, the council asks if you have anything to say. The former crime lord looked around the chamber. I miscalculated, he said simply. I thought humans were weak, primitive, easy targets. And now? The speaker asked. Now I know better, but it's too late for me. Yes, the speaker agreed. It is too late for you. You are sentenced to life imprisonment. Your assets are confiscated to help compensate victims. Your organization is dissolved, and your name will be remembered as a warning to others who would prey on the innocent. Guards led Kelvan away. Minji felt no satisfaction in his defeat. Only relief that he would never hurt anyone again. After the official proceedings ended, representatives crowded around the human delegation. They wanted to shake hands, to express thanks, to ask questions about Earth. Soo-hyun had been watching from the visitors' gallery. She had spent the week in training, learning what it meant to be part of the coalition service. She was wearing a trainee uniform now. It suited her. She found Minji in the crowd. That was amazing, she said. The whole galaxy was watching. I know, Minji said. No pressure. What happens next? We keep working. There are more stations out there, more criminals to catch, more people to save. Can I ask you something? Why do humans care so much? Other species seemed content to ignore the slave trade. But you went to war over it. Minji thought about that. Because we remember, she said finally. Humanity has a dark history. We enslaved each other once. We hurt each other. We know what that kind of evil looks like. And we decided as a species that we would never let it happen again. Not to us. Not to anyone. Even if it costs you? Even then, some things are worth fighting for. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Species that had avoided Earth began opening diplomatic channels. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchanges arranged. The galaxy had seen what humanity was capable of, and they wanted to know more. But not everyone was happy. Criminal organizations across multiple sectors had been disrupted. Their profits had dried up. Their operations had been exposed. Some wanted revenge. 3 months after Calvonis Station, a distress call came in. Pirates had attacked a passenger liner carrying civilians from 5 different species. They were demanding ransom. Admiral Seojin called Minji to his office. "How fast can you get your team ready?" "We're always ready, sir." "Good, because I'm getting requests from 3 different governments asking if Earth can help, specifically asking for you." Minji smiled. It was becoming familiar now. The call for help, the trust that humanity would answer. "Tell them yes," she said. Her team assembled in the briefing room. Daehyun checked his weapons. Yoonji updated her software. Jiwon packed medical supplies. Hyunwoo plotted the fastest course to the distressed ship. And Soohyun, now fully trained, joined them. She was part of the team now, a victim who had become a rescuer. "Everyone ready?" Minji asked. They all nodded. "Then let's go save some people." As their ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, a message was broadcast on every major communications network in the galaxy. It was short and simple, but it spread like fire. "If you're in trouble, call the humans. They will come. They always come." Back on Earth, news of the rescue operations had inspired millions. Applications to join the military increased. Diplomatic corps expanded. Young people who had never thought about space were suddenly dreaming of the stars. In a small apartment in Seoul, a child watched a video of Captain Minji leading her team. The child's mother smiled and said, "That could be you someday, if you work hard and never give up." The child nodded seriously. "I want to help people, like Captain Minji." "Then that's what you'll do." Across Earth, across the colonies, across human space, that scene repeated itself. A new generation was growing up inspired by the idea that strength meant protecting others, that power meant lifting up the weak, that humanity's place in the galaxy was as defenders, not conquerors. Years later, historians would mark the Calvonis Station raid as a turning point, the moment when humanity went from being newcomers to being leaders, when other species realized that Earth's compassion was backed by capability. When the slave trade began its decline, not because of laws, but because humans made it too dangerous to continue. But for Minji and her team, it was just another mission. Another group of people who needed help. Another chance to show the galaxy what humanity really meant. On the ship racing toward the pirate crisis, Minji stood on the bridge. Her team was ready. The plan was formed. Success was likely but not guaranteed. It never was. Daehyun joined her at the viewport. "Think we'll make it in time?" "We have to," Minji said. "They're counting on us." "They always are now." "I know. Does that bother you? Being the ones everyone calls?" Minji thought about it. About Bora reunited with her mother. About Soohyun finding purpose. About 3,000 people free who had been enslaved. About criminals facing justice who had thought themselves untouchable. "No," she said finally. "It doesn't bother me, because this is what we do. This is what humans do best." The ship dropped out of faster than light near the distressed liner. Pirates surrounded it, their weapons charged. They were expecting negotiation, pleading, surrender. They weren't expecting a human warship. "This is Captain Minji of the Earth Coalition Forces," she broadcast on all frequencies. "Release the passengers immediately. This is your only warning." The pirates laughed. One of them responded, "Or what, human? You're outnumbered. Go home." Minji looked at her team. They were smiling. They knew what came next. "Or," she said calmly, "we'll show you what a rescue operation looks like." The pirates stopped laughing when 10 more human ships appeared from stealth. They stopped laughing when Marines began breaching their hulls. They stopped laughing when they realized that kidnapping civilians was no longer a profitable business, not when humans were watching. By the time the sun rose over Earth the next day, the passengers were safe. The pirates were in custody. Another successful mission completed. And across the galaxy, the message was clear. Humanity had arrived, and they had come to protect those who could not protect themselves. This was the message Earth sent to the stars, not through words or treaties or threats, but through actions, through rescue operations, through unwavering commitment to justice. They thought we were slaves being sold, Minji had said to Suhyun in that cage, what felt like a lifetime ago. But she had smiled then because she knew the truth. Humans were not slaves. They were not victims. They were not weak. They were rescuers, protectors, heroes, and they would never stop coming for those who needed them. That was the human way. That was their gift to the galaxy. That was their legacy among the stars, and it was only just beginning.